my very first encounter was it was in the summer. I think it was in June. It was in June or July. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. I was on Hurricane Road, and it's considered Hurricane Road in Ashland. And I was taking my son to the emergency room. This is like a 2-lane back road going, cutting through going to town from my house. I was going probably about 35 miles an hour, kind of going down a grade. I was in a Bronco, kind of set up high. Seen 2 steps. I seen its foot hit like the corner of the blacktop, like one in the middle, and its foot hit the other side of the road and hit the power lines. That was my first encounter. I could have swore that I hit it, brushed it. When I got at the end of the road, me and my son both seen it. And when I got, a couple miles down the road, I actually even got out and looked. When I got more into, the lights and stuff, I got out and looked. I didn't see any hair, but I could have, I don't know how. I could swear I hit it, but apparently I didn't. It was right in front of my vehicle, and I thought I was driving, and the front bumper of my Bronco, I could see its hair. I could see the corner, about where my headlight is. That's where I seen it. I could see it touching its hair. That's why I thought when I got way down the road, I got out to see if there was anything, any hair or anything there, because I thought maybe something. If I didn't hit it, I at least probably caught some of its hair. There was nothing on my car, nothing.
Can you tell, was it upright? Was it an upright creature? Was it bipedal?
Oh, yeah, it was. When I first seen it come across the road, I've seen this long, stringy hair. It doesn't look like the Patty. It doesn't look anything like the Patty, the famous Patty. It doesn't have that short, monkey hair. This is long. It looked lanky. Its legs were long and lanky. My Bronco sits up high. Back then, how people jack, not really super high, but I'm 5'4.5", and I had to climb up in it, but it's set up off the ground. When it came across that road, I seen its knee go up. I could see its knee come up in front of me, and it was right there. Like I said, I don't know how I didn't hit it head on. Like the middle of my Bronco. That's how fast. That's how weird how take a couple steps and was across the road. But it was very tall and lanky. The hair was long. I'm saying, to me, it looked like 5 or 6 inches at least. Just long, muddy, just nasty looking hair. Like it really needed combed out. And its arms were real lanky. At first, I'm like, its knees came up like I would think a kangaroo or something. It's like, it brought its knees way up because I could see its knees come up as it was running, taking its steps across the road. I could see the top of its knees.
Could you see
and then I
face?
could see it. It was sideways. It was running. It didn't turn and look at me at all. It didn't turn and look at the car. It's like I wasn't even there. It's like I didn't exist. That was my first encounter. But my next encounter, I've actually seen it. I took my dog out to go potty. And we have a long driveway from our house to the road, and so I would walk her out to the end of the yard, and she started growling. And I'm like, I didn't know what. Cougar, I didn't know what, because we do have cougars out here. And next thing, I looked over, and across we have rows of Sharons that line our driveway. And she kept looking over there, and there's I didn't realize this, but there's a big old, cutout, a pathway through our rows of Sharons. And she just kept growling, and it made me nervous. So I started back to the house. She beat me back to the house and in the back door. And I stood there, and me and my son could see it. It was down right at the bottom of our driveway, right on the road by our mailbox, just looking at us, just staring at us. It's like, and I shined a flashlight down there right in its face. It didn't care. It just stayed there. It just stood there and stared at us. And I talked to my neighbor the next day, and he said he has set up. He has a picture window where he watches his TV in the living room. He was directly across my driveway, and he said he's seen a couple of times something. He said just black. He was thinking it was a bear or something that just would pass by his window sometimes. So with that, I actually seen then. I've seen it on Hurricane Road. It might have been like a month or so later. My husband was working on his grandmother's car. We have a glass sliding door that comes out our patio, and I smoke. So I was going out to my car to get my cigarettes, and where my husband was working on my husband's grandmother's car, he had a light, like a bright light that was sitting on a crate which kind of shined in between the cars. This was about 2 o'clock in the morning, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I went out, sliding door, and was going in between both of the cars to go to the passenger side to open the door, and it was standing at the passenger back door. And I was just in the front of the car, right as I would go down by the fender on the passenger side. And it was like turned sideways, and it was I call it hiding. Like it was like wanting me to know it wasn't there. It was, I mean, really, really tall. It was lanky. The one on Cansburg Road it wasn't big and massive. It was really tall, but it was more lanky, had long, stringy, according to the light. I mean, by the light, it looked like a brownish, blackish brownish hair. And it was matted, kind of matted, just long, stringy hair. But it had its arms hung down like to its knees. It had its head down. Now, it was sideways. It's like it was against the back passenger door. And it had its head down. It's kind of like it looked like it was knees was bent and just like in a hiding position. Just standing there like, you don't see me, I'm not here. And I couldn't move. I mean, I don't know how long I was froze there. I don't know if I startled and froze or why I couldn't move. But I couldn't move for, so many seconds. Finally, I could, and I just went around the car, got the back door, the sliding door open, and got in the house. And my son was watching TV in our family room, and he got up and went out there and looked. There wasn't nothing there. Another encounter at that address. It was in the daytime. My kids were at school. I was picking up my house, and I came through my kitchen into my living room, and we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 steps that go up to our front. Our house kind of sits up high. It looks like it's got a downstairs under it, but it doesn't. It's just a big basement. But anyways, there's a big picture window, and I walked through my kitchen into my living room, and this had to be about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And my daughter had, a toy, I think a Barbie doll was laying on the floor, and I reached down to pick it up. And when I raised up, it was in my living room window, just watching me, staring at me in the living room window, the big picture window. And that's pretty high up, and I could see it from, probably from its about where it's below its chest up in my picture window. Another encounter. Now, that's the ones I actually seen it. I had encounters where we had it used to be a workshop when we bought the building, but I had my Great Dane. I had 2 Great Danes, and I kept them in that building, and then we had a chain link run out from it. And do you need some? Or what are you looking for? I don't know. They're not in here. Anyways, I would go up there and feed them, hang out with them, and I would see, because we have a gravel driveway, and I would see gravel all inside of the building on the concrete. And I thought, is my son throwing gravel in the window because it has windows around it, and there was a window broke out. It was in the summer, and I thought why would he be throwing gravel in there? Well, he played for Boyd County on football, and they were away at a game. And I'd go up there, and I'd constantly be cleaning up these gravel out of the building. Well, he wasn't around. He was out of town on a ball game. So yeah, they would pick up gravel and throw in there at my dogs, constantly throwing gravel on the concrete in my building. One day I was on a computer in my family room. This is right outside the windows where it was standing by my car. Like I said, I'm a night person. I'd be up late, and I'd be on my computer doing dog stuff. And I just know when they're around. I could sense like when they're around. I could be planting flowers, anything, and I have to stop because I just know they're there. But I was sitting there on my computer, and I could just hear the glass. The window was right above my computer, and kind of high up, and I could just feel something pushing on that glass, just pushing in, pushing back. I didn't want to look up because I didn't want to see him again, and it just kept pushing on that glass. Another encounter, well, I moved my computer from that room into my living room, and they knew I was in the living room. That was about the time that I seen it that day in the picture window. But I moved my computer, and it was kind of behind my front door. And one night I heard it come up on my porch. I felt it pushing on the door. It didn't turn the handle or anything. It pushed on the door. It wasn't probably, well, I went and told my husband something was out there. And he got up, went around the house. Nothing was out there. Well, I went back to my computer stuff, and now if this had anything to do with it, I don't know, but it was within like an hour after that. I heard some voices outside of my house, and this girl was banging on my door and then banging on my window, and she was, freaked out, totally freaked out. And I went to get my husband up, and by the time I did that, my husband got up and opened the door, and they were gone. I don't know if it was a neighbor and they seen it, and they were out walking around and freaked out and ran to my door. I don't know. Another incident, I was on my computer in my kitchen. No, I was grooming my dog. I was in there grooming a puppy on my grooming table, and we have a long driveway, and you would have to stand directly in front of my kitchen door and be in my driveway to throw a rock through my kitchen window. It's like three small panes in the door. And this rock came through the middle pane, just missed where I would have been sitting. What I did is I got up. I was going up to my kennel with my dogs kind of up on our property kind of runs up a little hill that runs into the power line. Well, I had just went up by that building, the one I was telling you about, that they threw the gravels into the building. I had just got about to my building, and I heard the glass break. My son was in our family room, and I turned around. I see nothing. There was nothing. And when I got back down there, I found this big rock laying in the middle of our floor. I instantly turned around, and there was nothing in my driveway, but this rock went flying through my kitchen window. I've been up with my dogs, feeding them or hanging out with them, and I'd have little rocks being thrown, and these rocks could have hit me any time, but they always landed 5 times. There's one time 5 rocks landed right by my feet, and it came from the woods, from the power lines, just like one after another, right by me. I've had other encounters, like with my son the other night, or a few months ago, hearing it. I was out here I have a dog that has a little litter of puppies, and it was exactly 2:30 in the morning. Now, this is on Shopes Creek. That's just right down from Cannonsburg Road where I live. There's one thing I noticed, though, and I told my husband this in the spring, that we have bamboo, and we have a creek that runs behind our house, and there's bamboo that grows there. Now, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but it gave me the weirdest feeling. Bamboo is very hard to pull up out of the ground or to cut because of all these big roots that run. Well, this past spring, I noticed that looked like something had pulled that bamboo and broke these big, thick bamboos over. Well, I kind of walked around and was looking, and it's real thick. And I went to my neighbor's yard and walked around, and there's a big clearing in this bamboo. And there's no bamboo in there. It's like it's cleared out, and it's right by the creek. And, I hear my dogs bark all the time back there. But I was taking, actually, 5 nights ago, I took my dog out to the bathroom, and 2:30 I was standing there, and I have a big steep hill behind my house across the creek, and, a big, loud scream, which I've heard this scream quite a few times. Really loud. And then I brought my dog in the house, and I noticed when I took her out, she just kept smelling, like her nose in the air, and she just kept smelling, didn't get to go potty. And finally I got to go potty, and that's where I heard the scream. Well, I have another cocker, so I knew it was her turn to go out, so I wasn't going to come out, but I decided, yeah, she's got to go potty. Everybody else was in bed, so I took her out to the bathroom, and this was within 5 minutes. It's long enough to go in the house, get the other one, hook her up to the leash, take her out. And on the same side of the road, but down farther past about 3 houses down would be, then I heard a big loud whoop, just really loud, big whoop. I went in the house and I didn't come back out. I don't even take my dogs out right now. I mean, it's made it to where I don't even want to go outside in the woods. I used to live in the woods, but yeah, I've had quite a few. The one with my son, and I'm leaving some of them out. There's quite a few. The last, in our area, the last time we had that like 60-degree weathers, 67 degree a couple of months ago, we were up at my cat. This is up in Lawrence County at Bear Creek, the family farm. Me and my son was sitting out on the porch of the cabin. He had just got back from North Dakota, and they wanted to go up there and spend some time. So we were up there, and so his son that he adopted, he's 17 now, he wanted to bang on some trees or whatever, and I'm like, go ahead, I don't do that. I said, I don't know what that means to him, so I don't really do that. But anyway, so he banged on this, actually it was a cabin post, and he banged on that a couple of times. And again, we heard far away, we could hear that high-pitched sound. You could hear like several of them, real high-pitched sound. And then we sit there and we just started talking, getting our mind off of that, talking about other things. And then you could tell it was sounding a lot closer. And I told my son, I said, that's getting closer. I said, it sounds like it's up in that holler and to the right of us. And he goes, yeah. He said, it does. Anyway, so they got kind of a little nervous. So I said, well, let's get in the car. Let's drive down the road because there is a house down the ways. And he said, let's make sure there's no dogs or anything down there barking. I said, that's not a dog. He said, no, it's not. But let's just, because his son was nervous. I said, okay, let's drive down there. No, they don't have a dog. And we came back. It was just like, a couple blocks down the road. And then we came back. And this is on a dirt road, back in the hills. And we came back and parked like at the entrance where it goes up to our cabin. And we could hear that high pitch, like pretty loud again. And then he said, I was sitting in the back. It was in my van, and I was sitting in the back, and he said, I hear like something grunting, like it's grunting or growling or grunting. And we rolled down the windows, and you could hear it. And I thought, well, I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's that. Well, so he gave the gas, and he said he went about 200 feet or 200 yards when it went up a hill, stopped. We heard it there. Then we drove exactly about a mile on up. It's a dirt road, goes up over the hills and dip, and he was going pretty fast. And we got about a mile up the road and stopped, and it same sound. We were hearing it, and it was getting louder. It was just like a heaving, grunting, or growling sound, and we could hear it through our windows. I was in the back seat, and I heard it really plain. Finally, he said, that thing's following us, so we just took off and came on home. Yeah, I've heard it quite a few times. Footprints, there's things that happened at the cabin. Rocks stacked up. We went up a few months ago, and when we had that ice storm last year, there's all this wood that's chopped up and stuff. And up on the property, we pull up, and there's 3 different size logs stacked. No, there's 4 stacked side by side. Nobody goes there. There's never anybody up there. They even have a gate. No car goes in and out there. They got a big old gate at the bottom of the property. And up by close to the cabin is these 4 logs stacked up, like, different size. And my daughter and my son-in-law, they go up there pretty often. We all kind of go up there and hang out and have cookouts and stuff. And he said, did you do that as a joke? I'm like, no, I thought maybe you did. He goes, no. He said, I've seen those. But here's the weird thing about it. He said, if somebody was walking through the woods and just wanted to, pick up some logs and stack up to sit on or something, he said, then I could see that. He said, but there's a swing there around our fireplace. He made log seats out of trees, for people to sit on. And this is just right behind them. There's 4 of them stacked up. I've sat there and heard 2 trees in a row be pushed over, rocks hitting the top of the cabin, footprints. I got a few pictures of footprints there. all around that area.
Can you tell me how far is that cabin from your house where everything started?
20 minutes to get there, 20, 30 minutes. It's farther out in the woods, more out in the county part.
Sounds like all this stuff has happened over the years in the same general area.
Yeah. I listen to people talk on, I listen to YouTube a lot, listen to people talk on all these things, and they seem to think that if you encounter them, like, they follow you or they know. I mean, I don't know what to think about all that. I'm 60, I'll be 65 in June, and this might have nothing to do with this. I live in the woods. I go hunting with my dad all the time. I can't even go back in the woods. I mean, I go to the cabin, and I'm right there with all this stuff that's went on, and now, every time I go out, I hear them, like just heard them the other night here when I lived on Canonsburg Road. I mean, it's getting where I don't even want to go in the woods anymore.
And they have an opportunity to hurt us. They come very close to us, and they sometimes want to scare us or get our attention. They would have wanted to hurt you. They would have hurt you a long time ago.
I would tell everybody, I said, I know they watch me. I said, because I was out, I planted roses, orange roses all around the back part of my house. I'd be out there planting roses, not even thinking about anything like that. And I knew when they were there. I literally would stop. I knew they were there. The one part I didn't tell you, when they broke that glass through that rock through my window, I was out cleaning up, I was cleaning up glass, and there was glass that fell outside of the window. And I was out there cleaning it up, and I was really mad because here they went from my family room to my living room. I seen it in my living room window, at my car. I mean, I was getting, rocks thrown at my feet while I'm up by my dogs. Never hit me, but landed right by my feet. I was annoyed. I was getting annoyed with it. Then when they break my window, when I was cleaning up this glass, and this is where I knew anything about telepathy, I guess that's what you call it, where you don't hear voice, but it's like you know what they're saying. I was cleaning that glass up. I was sweeping it up on a little pan, and and I literally said this out loud because I was just so mad, because I thought if I was still sitting there, that rock would have hit me. And I said, you guys aren't real. I don't know why I said that. I said, you guys aren't real. I was just angry. And in my head, I heard, this is what it said. I said, you guys aren't real. And the information I got in my head instantly said, we take care of our own. That was exactly what it said to me. We take care of our own. One other thing I didn't tell you about on Hurricane, the road where that first one that I could have swore I was going to hit with my Bronco that went in the power line. It was during the day, probably, I don't know. My kids were out of school. It was summer. We were driving going to my mom's house, and I always cut through that road to take the back roads to my mom's house in town. And I had my kids with me, and we were driving down the road, and I seen something like big and black, from a distance, laying beside the road. I thought, a big dog or something that a car hit. And as we got closer, my son then was like 14 or 15, and he said, that's bigger than a dog. That has to be a bear. And I'm like, wow, I bet, maybe it is. As we got closer, it was bigger, and it looked bigger. And I drove past it, and keep in mind, this is not a busy road at the time. It was just 2-lane back road. And so I went down the road a little bit, found a place to turn around, and we came back up to check it out. When it was just maybe 4 blocks down the road, if you counted blocks, and found a place wide enough in the road to turn around. And I came back up, and it wasn't there anymore. It was gone.
Next to the road or in the road?
No, it was next to the road. It was right off the blacktop. It's a 2-lane blacktop, and it was laying, it was like a space between the blacktop, and then there's a big ditch that runs down through there, and then there's a creek on the other side. There were some trees there, and then there's a big creek that runs a hole into that road. Me and my sister, cutting through there, it's hard for me to go down that road, but I thought I had to face my fears, so me and my sister, I had somebody with me. So we drove down that road. I was showing her where it happened. And we got out, We did it in the daytime. We got out. There's a couple of houses built there now. But we got out, and right where it crossed the road, this is what does not make any sense to me. It was running, because it was in full stride when it was running across the road. But when I looked across where it came from, there is a wide, like I said, there's a big wide ditch that goes all the way down that road. It would have had to jump that real wide ditch, plus the power line that comes down the hill to where that ditch is almost like straight up and down. How could that thing be running like that, jump that ditch, and run across the road from that steep power line and that wide, very, very wide ditch line, and then hit the corner of the road? Because the ditch line's right on the blacktop. It's straight down. Very steep power line. And at that time, the power line was clear. I don't know why they've let it grow up a little bit. There's bushes and stuff all on it. But, yeah, it's a big power line, and that's where it was coming from. Traveled that power line.
The one earlier, you said you saw it between two cars. You described it very lanky and long hair, matted. Do you think that was the same one?
I think it was the same one. I really do. Now, the first one was the one that ran across the road, when it ran across the road.
Right.
This was like nothing was really around my house till after that. When that happened, that was my very first encounter with anything like that. That was my first one with it. Then it was the same summer that, I didn't even realize until like I said, I'm on the downside of COVID right now. And I've had, I'm quarantined in my bedroom. So I've had this time to just, I'm bored because I'm feeling better and I'm bored here. So I was looking, I went on Google Maps and I was zooming in where it come down the power line across the road. Then I knew it didn't even dawn on me all these years. I didn't even think about it. So I was sitting here the other day, and I looked to see the power lines where I lived. And, you can put a pin drop and then pull a line.
Mm-hmm.
That power goes from Hurricane Road, where it crossed in front of me. That pin, I followed that power line, and it come right down in the back of my house. So how did that know that that's what, this is what gets me, and it gave me chills when I thought about it. And I even called my sister and oh my gosh, I showed my husband, I said, and my son, I said, look, this is, and you know what he said to me? Yeah, Mom, because that's where we rode our dirt bikes on the power lines, because my husband, they're big in riding dirt bikes. That's what we rode our dirt bikes on, that power line. It goes right all the way across through there and comes right down the back of my house. But I never had any experience at my house, period, until that happened to me on Hurricane Road. And that's when all that started happening, was after that.
It's exciting when you can kind of connect the dots.
I moved to Shops Creek, which is just right down the road, just a couple of roads over from where I lived. There's another lady that's on your all site. I think I put a picture up or something from up at the cabin of one up. I can't figure out what this picture. I have a couple of pictures too. But she told me, she said, she lives in Lexington, Kentucky now, and she said she used to live on Shops Creek. And I wasn't putting it together at first. I said, oh. She said, yeah, I've seen him on Shops Creek.
Here's what if you don't mind, let me give you my email. And
okay, let me get it. All right, just a second. I have a pen here somewhere.
Yeah.
Get the paper here.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay, so my email is charlie@KentuckyBigfoot.com.
Kentucky Bigfoot. Okay, spell out Kentucky.
KENTUCKY, and then Bigfoot, BIGFOOT.
Okay,
Kentucky,
so you spell out Kentucky.
They spell out Kentucky.
Yeah, not okay, that's what I need to know. Okay. Yeah, one of them, there's a couple of them, is a footprint in at the cabin where I told you those Those little 4 logs were stacked up. And this was my brother-in-law, my son-in-law, not my brother-in-law, my son-in-law's theory on that. There is 4 of them in the family. There's mom, dad, and the 2 little boys. They're 1-year, the 2-year-old and 3-year-old. His theory was that because they're the ones that, spend more time. Well, I actually spend more time than they do up there. But anyways, when they go up there as a family and hang out, they do, in the summer they go like every weekend or whatever. And he thought maybe they were putting them logs as like the bigger one's the dad, the biggest one is the mom, and then the 2 smaller ones with the 2 little boys. That was his thought. Something else we seen up there, there was rocks, like by the creek, and there's a creek that runs by the cabin. And there's these rocks. There's big rocks, and then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Something else I didn't tell you, a guy back, when I lived on Canonsburg Road and all this was going on, he didn't believe in Bigfoot or anything like that. He did roofing. Him and his dad did house roofings. And my son, and, I had a couple horses and stuff, and they were fixing a fence on some property that I had rented to put my horses. And he said, I'm going to show you something. He said, I don't know what this is. He said, but he says, 2 places I'm going to take you. He said, I've never seen one. I hear about these things. So he took me where they was roofing on a house, which was right down the road from Canonsburg Road. It was another road. They were starting to build houses in this area. And he said, we were up on that roof, putting the roof on this house, and he said, I know there's something over there. He said, I know there's something in those little woods over there across the road. And he said, I don't know what it is. I ain't seen that, but I hear stuff over there. So we crossed the road, parked at the house that they were roofing, went over just like there's the road, and then there's a little ditch, and then you hit the little embankment, and there's all these trees. Well, when we went up in there, it's like where something hung out and watched him. It was cleared out. It was like a big round circle, cleared out. You could tell where something just been laying in there. And it looked like it was kind of dug out where it was just deep enough to, or smash down. I don't know which, but it looked like it was kind of grooved out a little bit. And just right there, it could watch them building this house. Well, then he said, I'm going to show you something else. He said, I hear stuff over there. And we're hammering and everything, and we hear stuff over there. But when we went over there, I didn't really look around for anything. He just wanted to show me that because he didn't want to go over there by himself, I guess. So then he took me to the railroad tracks over by the prison here in Summit, which is not too far from my house. And we walked probably 30 minutes on that railroad tracks. And he said how he noticed this was his girlfriend lived down from the railroad tracks, and him and her daughter would walk that railroad tracks to go to a little store, like a quickie store, little country quickie store. And they'd walk that railroad tracks. And I'm telling you, the whole time we walked, right in between the tracks, on the wood that goes across the tracks that the rails lay on.
Yeah.
I mean, here's like you might see little rocks or a big rock, and then they get smaller as it goes up. I mean, all the way down through there, as far as we walked, it was starting to get late, so we had to walk all the way back to get to our car. All the way down through these railroad tracks is rocks stacked up. You might see little teeny rocks on top, just getting bigger, and then sometimes you would see big rocks and then get smaller. Now, it's not a place where kids would go play. It's not trains don't go on that track. It hasn't went on there in years. And I've read stuff where they like rocks. I mean, is this a hangout that they just go stack up the rocks? I don't know.
Yeah, could be.
But yeah, that was very, very interesting. I mean, we walked for about 30 minutes and just all these different rocks just stacked up. Not real big rocks, stuff that was along the tracks. Just stacked up. And then it was starting to get dark, so I don't know how far they went.
Yeah, that's one of the things we think they do. We don't know why they do it. If they're marking their territory or what, but it's kind of a common thing we observe. But I wanted to ask you real quick, and then I'll let you go. On the sightings you've had, were there any that you were able to see the face?
No. Well, no, I take that back. Not the one when my dog was I took her out to the bathroom, and I was telling you about the driveway, and it was down by my mailbox, and my dog was growling, and so I came back to the house, and then my son got a flashlight, and we were sitting at the back door. Actually, we were sitting on the steps at my back door, and we could hear the dogs barking and everything, and we were shining the light. And when he shined it down, and I told him, don't shine the light down there because my neighbor is directly across from my driveway, and he was shining it toward his house, but right by my mailbox across the road, it was standing right there, just standing there, and it didn't care that I was shining the light on it either. It was just standing there, and the thing we noticed about it is how far its eyes were set apart. That's the only thing I've seen. I've never seen facial features, because both times that I actually was that close to it, the car, it was turned sideways. Like its arms was long and lanky. I could see its elbows and its knees. I mean, its knees was bent. When it was against the car by the passenger door, when I came out and went between the cars, it was sideways. I didn't see its face. And when it ran across the road in front of me in my Bronco, it didn't even turn and look. Right. Yeah, I hear people in stories say that they turn and look at them and then go on. It never. It's just like it didn't. It's like it didn't even know I was there.
The one that you shined the flashlight at, it was down your driveway. It was across the street by your mailbox.
Yeah, it's a 2-lane road. I live out in the county. Yeah, it was by my mailbox. It was standing right by my mailbox.
And you could see the eyes to tell they're set far apart. Was there any eye shine, any color to the eyes?
Not really. Well, it showed up. I've heard green. I've heard red. If anything, I would say more of a greenish tint. There was no red to it at all. But they showed up, and I could tell this was an eye and this was an eye. And that's the first thing my son said. Look how big its eyes are, like just really big, and they were far apart. But no, it wasn't red. I would say more a real light green-looking color.
You shined the light at it. How long did you watch it for? And what happened? Did it walk off, or did you guys go in the house?
Nope. We that's the thing that what got me about it. It wouldn't leave. It just stayed there, and we sat there for a few minutes. And I said, "Quit shining the light down there. You're gonna." Our neighbor, because we had borrowed a spotlight from my dad. Well, he goes coon hunting, so it was a pretty bright light. And actually, the night or two before that, my dad was hearing me talk about all this. And I was telling him about my window, and he thought maybe somebody was trying to get in my window. And I'm like, no, Dad. I said, it's not like that. But anyway, so he came out and parked up on our property, and where the power line comes into our yard. He parked there. He thought, oh, you just seen a bear or something. I said, no. Well, my son-in-law had just planted flowers. He had planted me some flowers all the way around my house. And I was, I told you I was putting the roses out and all that. When my dad came out that day, before he sat there for a little while at night with that spotlight, the flowers was tramped down. He said it looked like something heavy. The grass was smashed down. I mean, it was right under my windows, all the way around my house. Under my windows was the grass smashed down. My little bushes my son-in-law planted, everything was smashed down. And that's when he said, there's something big. He said, even the grass is smashed into the ground. And he had that spotlight and left it there. And then me and my son was up later that night, and, and then I took my dog out. And then when we were at the back door, no, it didn't leave. It stayed there. It didn't care. I mean, he shined that light. I got on to him about shining the light because it was directly my mailbox. Like you go down, I have a long driveway to the road. It's a 2-lane road, and then across the road is my mailbox, and then you kind of go down a little tiny embankment, and my neighbor's house was down there. And when he shined the light on it, it would go real bright light. It went right in, right at my neighbor's house at like 2:00 in the morning. But we would hear him we could hear the dogs off for about 12 o'clock. We did this like every night. We would stand there at the door or in his bedroom and raise the window up. I could hear it about 12 o'clock, and then about 1:30, 2 o'clock, that's when they came through which I think came down that power line and hit across the road and hit the power line across the road and went up past my neighbor's house. And that same night that we shined the light, and I, down by my mailbox, it was a little bit after that. We had done come back in the house because it didn't leave. So we just come in the house, shut the door, went in his bedroom, and started listening, taping out the door, and by the time we come in, shut the door, went to his bedroom, raised the window, here comes a car, slammed its brakes on, skidded. I heard like a car door shut, and this girl, it sounded like a girl screamed really loud. And then this car peeled out, and I could hear them all. I mean, you could hear that car just giving it the gas as fast as they could go down the road. I could hear it a little ways down the road. So it was still down there because I know that's what they did. They seen it. And then I read a report or heard one. I think I was just listening to, how people tell stories on YouTube. Was talking about my area. Actually, I think they read that one on BRFO, and they read one on 168 and Canonsburg Road, and I told my husband, and I said, that's probably the people that reported their story that seen that one at the foot of our driveway, because she was talking about how it crossed the road and her husband had slammed on the brakes, and then they peeled out and took off. So I don't know if that's the same one, but yeah, that's what happened. It didn't leave. It stayed there. It didn't care that I knew it was there. It didn't care it was shining the light on it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.